right, let's call to order the Sparks City Council meeting for October 9th with a roll call.
Mayor Lawson,
Here.
council members Abbott,
Here.
Vanderwell,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Bybee,
Here.
Dare,
Here.
City Attorney Duncan,
Here.
Acting City Manager Crawforth.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, we have an invocation from Pastor Barb West.
Would y'all join with me in prayer, please? Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you so much for today. Thank you for this fine council and for Mayor Lawson. We pray that you would keep them all well and healthy. And Lord, we thank you too that we're going to get a firehouse here in Sparks. We praise you for that. And we ask you to be with our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, our EMT people. Help them all as they do their job to protect us and help us. And we pray for Israel today that you might keep your hand upon that great state. Thank you, Lord, for being with us, and give wisdom to our council members for all of the business at hand. We thank you for this great city that we call home in Sparks. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Ms. Hunter, will you lead us in the pledge? We'll move on to public comment. Let's go. First up is Amasquita. Becky? Did I say it right? Yeah, close enough. Close enough. Well, you'll answer to it. That's good enough, right?
I'm just helping.
Well, you're up next, Andrea.
Have a seat. Okay, I'll move over. It's my turn. Okay.
I come on behalf of the Sparks.
State your name.
My name is Becky Amasquita, and I'm with the group called Project Heroes. And we ride the path on Rock Boulevard, the rock path there, in Sparks by the river. And that really needs to be addressed. There are several really bad holes in the dirt there, in the sidewalk there. And it's hard for not only riders on bikes, but we have people that are on trikes, people that can't ride regular bikes, they ride trikes. And it's really hard for them to go through those bumps. And the road itself, there's a lot of places where it needs to be just repaved through the cracks, because there's so many cracks there. And I'm surprised that, there aren't any injuries there from any kind of a handicapped person that may be in a wheelchair or a walker, because it's really kind of dangerous. So I'm asking that that piece of road gets repaved. I went to the Reno one, and that pavement is just absolutely beautiful. They did a gorgeous job on it. Some of that was just really bad too. And they fixed it all up. It looks really nice. So I'm hoping that maybe we can do the same thing in Sparks and have more people walking the path down there. Okay. I guess I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Andrea Pelto.
Or you can leave her seat. Andrea Belto, for the record, Chair of your Sparks Senior Advisory Committee. I I just wanted to speak on actually behalf of 9.1, and I'm thrilled that you guys will be appointing a new Parks and Recreation Director. And, I just wanted to say that I really look forward, to working with a new Parks and Recreation Director to hopefully, get some more of the things that the seniors were looking for as far as exercise programs and things like that. And, I was able to sit in on the interview process, and I think that Nancy is a great choice for the Parks and Recreation Department. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. All right, anyone else in the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. I'm looking for, what? Looking for an approval of the agenda. Ms. Bybee.
I move to approve the agenda as presented with one removal of item 7.5.
Okay, got a motion. Let me get to the right page here. Pardon me?
Nothing's coming up for us.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Oh.
You
I'll
get-
second the
you get-
motion.
You get to second, yes. You didn't know that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously, I think. Hold on. Who am I waiting on? Diane.
Well, it's not working to touch the
Now
screen
it's, now it
Sorry.
worked. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. All right, looking for an approval of the minutes. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for September 25th, 2023.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Number 7, announcements, presentation, recognition items, and items of special interest. 7.1, Board and Commission's vacancy announcement, the Sparks Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. Mr. Interim Manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, members of City Council, Chris Crawforth, your acting city manager for the record. Before you, there are 2 vacancies on the Sparks Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, each for 2-year terms, expiring on November 30th of 2025. The vacancies are for 1 performing arts representative and 1 visual arts representative. Applicants must be Washoe County residents. Applications will be accepted until Thursday, October 26, 2023 at 5 p.m. Persons interested in serving on these committees should complete a community service application online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us/get involved. Simply complete the volunteer application form and hit submit. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 7.2 is, it must be Greg Wilson Day in Sparks. I see we have a crowd. Mr. Wilson, you want to come down? We have a proclamation for you. You want to bring like half of your entourage? Go ahead. No. Right there in the seat. And just, we'll ask you to speak here in a minute, but I'm going to have Mr. Anderson read your proclamation first.
All right. So first off, I want to say, Mr. Abbott, thank you very much for allowing me to read this one. He did not know that Greg and I are friends, and we actually worked together for several years. So thank you very much for letting me read this. And Greg, congratulations. It's awesome. I'm proud to be reading this for you and the work you've done. Whereas Greg Wilson, a Sparks-based UPS driver and 37-year veteran of the trucking industry, has been named the grand champion at the 2023 National Truck Driving Championship held August 16th through the 19th in Columbus, Ohio. And whereas the National Truck Driving Championship, originally known as the National Truck Rodeo, has been held since 1937 by the American Trucking Association to promote safety and courtesy on the nation's roads. And whereas competitors are tested on driving skills, pre-trip inspections, personal interviews, and written examinations about vehicle operation and federal safety regulation, Whereas Greg Wilson's attendance in the year's competition marked his 14th overall appearance in the event, previously winning the Best Pre-Trip Inspection Award in 2000, named Nevada's Driver of the Year in 2019, and the Grand Champion title of Nevada in 2018. And whereas this year's competition also represented Greg Wilson's 37th year in the trucking industry, where he has logged more than 2.5 million accident-free miles on the job. And whereas the city of Sparks stands behind America's truck drivers, who are the critical link between goods and consumers, ensuring the safe and efficient delivery of all the essential goods to our doorsteps and storefronts in Nevada and nationwide. Now therefore, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, do hereby proclaim October 9th, 2023 as Greg Wilson Day.
Greg, give us your name for the record.
Greg Wilson.
You can sit down.
Sit down.
We'll have you stand up in a minute.
Okay.
But go ahead and say you know what I want to know? What kind of skills do they test? I would imagine backing skills is
So there's a lot of backing skills. There's some right turn skills. So basically when we're out there normally during our everyday driving and our jobs and stuff, we're trying to stay as far away as we can from things. At the competitions, you're trying to get as close as you can without touching for the most part. So there's some backing up to a barricade, or one of the favorites, the crowd favorites, is there's a right turn or a left turn, and they have a big rubber duck sitting there. And you try to get as close to him as you can without him, and we go through a lot of ducks. There's a big barbecue afterwards. But anyway, that's kind of a lot of it. And then it's a lot of just perception stuff and a lot of stuff that we do every day normally anyway, but they just put it into a competition. We usually do 6 different problems on the competition itself.
How many contestants?
So at nationals, there's one first place winner for each class of competition, and I believe there's 9 classes altogether. So, and then there's a first from every state. So this year there was over 420 different competitors in the 9 different classes. So the most you can have in your individual class is 50.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and this is my rodeo team from UPS. It's Randy and Eric and Dave and Tasha, and this is Hoot. He's a newer driver. Hopefully we're going to get him out there next year. He's doing some triples training, and we have Joe Rogers, one of my managers, and Alan Maldonado. He's a trainer, and he does a lot of stuff for us as competitors to help us get ready with our equipment and gathering different props and stuff to be able to do our practices. That's Delaney Flick. That's Eric's wife. Yeah. And then Phil Cody, he's the hub manager. He's been a lot of support. We got to know each other a little better in Columbus. Really fun guy to hang out with. Couldn't ask for anything better. We got a great group over here, and hopefully we're gonna get there next year, and maybe all of us will do really well. Hopefully.
I don't know, did you introduce the person to your right?
My wife. That wasn't very good. Thanks, Paul. We set that up, and I couldn't have done any of it without my support of my wife. She's been a rock. She's very quiet, but she's very vocal about some things, like, why can't you win? She doesn't hold back. So when I did it this year, it was pretty cool.
I understand you guys have an event this weekend.
We do. This weekend, no, it's next weekend, right?
This weekend.
Yeah, it's this weekend. I forget what day it is. There's a rodeo, a truck rodeo at the Sparks. I'll let Dave talk about it, because I don't know all the specifics about it right now.
This weekend, we're gonna hold a rodeo just like they do at state and nationals. It's for UPS and any other trucking company that wants to come and attend. It starts at 10 o'clock. If you'd like to come and see what it's all about, come check it out.
Address.
355 Vista Boulevard.
And it's open to the public?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And everything, we have food and fun and games for the family.
If you still have your CDL, you can compete.
I do.
You probably do.
I do,
You should do it. You guys should make him do it.
Just to embarrass him, yeah. All right, we're gonna have you guys stand over here. We'll get the picture with you.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can say something.
Sorry, I just want to give a shout out to Alan. Definitely, Alan's the reason that today is happening. Mr. Maldonado reached out to me and Tessa with the I forgot the association, the trucking. I'm called the Trucking Association. Yep. So she had definitely helped write it all. So I'm giving them credit. But he reached out, and also someone that has attended the truck rodeo. It is a great time. I grew up in the trucking world. My dad was a truck driver. He never won. I pray he never tried out either, or else he would have won, of course. But we appreciate what you guys are doing and happy to celebrate and support you today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for everything.
Anyone else? No? Okay, let's get a picture then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, get them all in there. You guys want to come, you can come over here and take pictures if it's better for you.
And I have been to a truck rodeo, thank
Go this way just a little bit, and then you can stand straight up. Yep. That's good.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. See ya. It starts at 9. Oh, really?
Companies that win these
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bet. Amongst each other. Walmart tries to win every year, so it's really big. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. Hopefully you won't forget October 9th. You have a day in Sparks.
Go Brown.
Mr. Manager, who's doing a presentation on fentanyl?
You still have stormwater though.
Oh, excuse me. One more proclamation first. Stormwater Pollution Awareness Month. Mr. Abbott.
We should drink water. Perfect. Whereas polluted stormwater runoff discharging into rivers, lakes, and streams can result in the death of wildlife, destruction of vital ecosystems, contamination of drinking water resources, and disruption of recreational activity. And whereas the Clean Water Act of 1972 prohibits the discharge of any pollutant to navigable waters of the United States unless authorized by the Environmental Protection Agency. And whereas a major source of pollutants in the navigable waters of the United States is polluted urban and suburban stormwater runoff that flows directly into rivers, lakes, and streams, untreated, threatening public health. And whereas the common sources of stormwater pollutants are sediments, automotive chemicals, litter, and debris, household hazardous chemicals, and yard and pet waste. And whereas it is imperative that these pollutants be prevented from entering the stormwater runoff along Nevada roadways, and whereas Stormwater Pollution Awareness Month provides an opportunity to encourage greater efforts in the city of Sparks and across Nevada to reduce stormwater pollution. Now therefore, I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Stormwater Pollution Awareness Month.
Thank you. Mr. Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mayor Lawson. I'm here, been asked to say just a couple words on behalf of both the city's environmental control team as well as the public works maintenance team, who are the two primary areas of the city that work hard to keep those pollutants that Mr. Abbott just discussed out of the Truckee River. I would like to remind everyone, we do not treat stormwater in the Reno-Sparks area, so if it goes in the street, it goes in the river. And yes, the Truckee River is navigable, by at least legally defined as such. So we work hard to keep the sediments, the chemicals, as you said, that's the environmental control team, working with the contractors in the region to use the best management practices to keep the soil, when they're doing grading, keep the soil on one side, the road on the other side. They also respond to vehicle accidents to clean up those chemicals before they have a chance to enter the storm drain system. Our public works maintenance team sweeps our streets. They are currently sweeping the entire city every 10 weeks, but monthly our large streets, the mains we call them, the Praters, the Vistas, the Sparks, get swept at least once a month in order to pick up that dirt to keep it out of the storm drain, because again, if it gets in this drain pipe, it's going to get in the river. The river flows to Pyramid Lake, Terminal Lake, so once it's in the lake, it's there forever. So with that, we would like to think it's a team effort, requires everybody to be a little bit more aware of what you're doing, what you're allowing to flow off your lawn or out of your vehicle or into the street. And we appreciate the attention that that you're bringing to this issue for us, and we thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Okay. Do we need a picture?
Absolutely.
Oh, you know what I look like?
You've got a face for radio.
Thank you.
A proclamation with Mr. Drinkwater himself?
Donald just wants another picture of the proclamation.
Whichever you prefer, this is perfect. All right.
Well, it's all
Okay, yeah.
We love water.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're moving on to consent items. Anyone wish to pull a consent item? Oh, see, I'm one ahead. All right, presentation on dangers of fentanyl. Who's doing that? Come on up. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Worst things happen.
I've got lines all over my.
Let me guarantee you, worst things happen. So I'm John Firestone. I'm the Executive Director of the Life Change Center. I want to thank you guys for the ability to be here. Thank you, Mayor Lawson. Thank you, members of the Sparks City Council. Most of you know about the Life Change Center. Maybe others in the audience do not. As a reminder, the Life Change Center is an outpatient opioid treatment program. We've been, oops, you know what I forgot to do? Put all this together and I forgot to do this. Is it?
I think we took a tour of your place last year, didn't we
You
not?
did. That was
Yeah.
awesome. I want to thank you again for that. So, slideshow. There's probably a way to do this. There we go. So, yeah, we've been here for 25 years. I've worked for the company for 20 years. Seen a lot of changes. We're in a different time right now. We've been on that front line, certainly in Sparks, during that time, like where we had the pill problem. It turned into a heroin problem. Now we're dealing with a new, let's just call it for lack of a better term, a super drug called fentanyl. And to put things kind of like into perspective of how the problem is in our area, we're currently providing services to about 850 people every day, each day. Of that, over nearly 400 are in Sparks. We have 3 locations, Carson City, Reno, and Sparks. You got about 400 people a day will come through one of our doors. That's a lot of folks. And the problem with fentanyl is it's very, very strong. I'm sure you guys heard about it. It's on the news a lot. I use that term super drug. That's not a common term, but I think it's fitting. Fentanyl is, they measure opioids in terms of, they call morphine equivalent. So if you're familiar with like hot sauce, they use Scoville units. Like this is the opioid Scoville unit, right? 1 morphine equivalent is morphine, 2 is heroin, 100 is fentanyl. Fentanyl is literally 50 times stronger than heroin. Now, I'm 57 years old. What I remember about heroin, it was the strongest, most deadly drug ever to hit mankind. And we got something that's 50 times stronger. And it's really devastating our communities. Starts mainly in the East Coast. We have a little bit of a warning about what's going to happen, right? But it's moving our way. So nationally, in the last 12 months, we saw nearly 80,000 U.S. citizens die of fentanyl poisoning, of a fentanyl overdose. More locally, it's not much better. The way I framed this, just for consideration, between now and your next city council meeting and 30 days from now, 12 members of our community will have died of fentanyl poisoning, of fentanyl overdose. We just don't know who they are yet. Just think about that for a second. Another important thing, I brought this is data from our clinics. Remember, we're serving a lot of people, and we drug test people every week. This is about 2.5 years worth of data that shows drug test results in terms of heroin or fentanyl. The blue line being heroin, the orange line being fentanyl. This is also how you would gauge how much fentanyl has replaced the availability of other opioids illicitly in our community. Right now, it's hard to get pills, it's hard to get heroin. People that have addictions to opioids are generally using fentanyl. This is one of the key factors of the increased mortality statistics that we've seen in the East Coast. Fentanyl also, besides it's very dangerous, it affects a lot. But some of the main points, I want to bring this home. we're not talking about fentanyl in this, like, other than, we're in this, right? Sparks is greatly affected by fentanyl. And the people that come to us for treatment are greatly affected by this too. Now, I get to talk to them. I hear their stories. It's sort of this juxtaposition of fear and desire. People that are addicted to opioids, whether it's fentanyl, whether they think they're using fentanyl, whether it's another form of an opioid, they're afraid. But because addiction is mental illness, they also have this compulsive use at the same time. So it's really this juxtaposition of fear and desire. But I brought a video that maybe is going to tell that story a little bit better.
It'd be really easy for me to start every single one of my children's stories off with, my mom was a drug addict and she died. And that's it. No one would know anything about me or who I was. They would know that I was a drug addict and I died. And that's then my children's story. And whatever trauma they get from not having me there. So, yeah, it's a really big eye-opener.
So many times you go down that hole, and at some point you realize that you're here for some reason. I got introduced to addiction via prescription painkillers.
What started is, of course, coming from a very dysfunctional family. I've had an addiction and a problem for probably about 20, 30 years. I wanted to change. I wanted to stop taking pills because I got tired of being sick.
My mom and my dad, they both cooked methamphetamines, kind of like led me into the life of selling drugs. And of course, when you're selling them, 9 times out of 10, you're doing them also.
State raised, foster homes, group homes, institutions. So I was a street kid by the time I was 12. And I started doing heroin.
Since I was old enough to make my own decisions, I did drugs. My mom and her boyfriend were dope cooks. We're from Oklahoma. So it was meth. $350, $400 a day habit, and just kind of ran with it.
But I had a really good life up until I was about 21, 22 years old. Went through addiction kind of late in my life.
Every time I went to prison, it was drug related or alcohol related. There's a way out. There's a better way out.
I found out about the Life Change Center through a friend. I knew I needed help, so I came here.
That was one of the things that I had to do, was seek out a counselor, and the Life Change Center was where they suggested.
I just decided I wasn't going to let drugs take anything else from me. Once I decided to work steps and that I didn't want to be a drug addict, it was everything. I never could picture myself living a sober life. Like I've just begun to live this last 3 years.
No matter how many times you came back, you were always welcome back.
Living a sober life and getting help through the Life Change Center is great.
It's helped keep me in the place where I want to stay.
It's not going to be a week or two, a month or two. You got to give this time. With the Suboxone, methadone, Subutex, whatever, it's a miracle. It's saving lives.
I'm completely sober. I choose not to go down that path again.
If somebody's hesitant to come here, I would just say, please do come here, because every day there's lives being lost, and you never know when it's going to be you.
I lost somebody. It's like a son to me. And he's gone. I just wish more people would just hold on. If you're that guy, if you're that woman that you're just out there and doing the damn thing to get them drugs, give yourself a chance, man. Life is good. Life is good. If I can do it, you can do it. I've been around death all my life. I see life now in people. I see life.
So thank you for listening to that. I think, it's a good reminder, the people that I provide services to, that the Life Change Center provides services to, and there's a lot. We'll provide services to several thousand people a year. They're real people. They're people with a disease. They're worth any effort, and I was talking to Acting Manager Crawford a bit outside. There's a lot I can do when a person walks through our front door, and there's a lot I can predict when a person walks through our front door, and I think we've got a good handle on that, but there's so many more people that aren't ready to walk through that front door, right? We're the largest provider of services in your area. If you were to couple every other provider in Sparks that works specifically with opioid addiction, we provide more services than all of them combined. We're a good place to start. We provide a protective factor to people that are using fentanyl. Even when people continue to use within my program, they're less likely to die. Matter of fact, talk to my staff, we've only seen one death in 3 years. Over 7,000 people, one death, while a person was engaged in treatment. During that time, hundreds and hundreds of people within our county have died. It really does make a difference. So I do have an ask. My assumption is that Sparks has a plan. I'm sure it's a good plan. I'd love to hear it. Let me guarantee you that the Life Change Center has a plan. But we're working on 2 separate plans right now. I would like the opportunity to meet with whoever I need to meet with the city of Sparks so we can make sure our plans are working together. And maybe we come up with some new ideas that might have better impact on those that are needing it. I mean, look around. We're in a position we can all make an impact. I can speak for myself. I know I can. So either we choose to or we don't. And if it's not us, then who's it going to be? So I just open myself up for questions, and thank you again for your time.
Okay, question from the council? Mr. Dare?
I do want to thank you for coming in, and it's always obviously sobering to hear and to see so many different people in this kind of situation or need. But thank you to you and your staff for stepping up in there and opening the doors for us to come and see and learn more. Do you have any, I know last year, I think it was around this time, you had a fundraiser that was taking place. Do you guys have some more coming up that people can be involved if they'd like?
Absolutely. I'll make sure you have all that information. It's in July.
It's in July is when you do that. Very good.
Yeah.
How about if there's anybody in the community who saw this or are interested? Can people just come in and give, donate? Obviously, you're 501c3, I believe. Is that true?
Absolutely. So that is one of the problems that we do face, that we're challenged as a state, is the provider type. That's how things work in social service world. We're a provider type. So we bill Medicaid. Most of the people that walk through our front door have generally lost a lot. Medicaid is the insurance that we see most common. We are the second to the lowest paying state in the United States by a large margin. The average, we're 5 times less than the national average. So it's no great surprise we're not attracting new entrants into our market to help support these efforts to take care of this problem in our state. So if anybody can do anything, yeah, if I got somebody that can get me closer to Medicaid, if I got somebody close to me to the state government that could make that sort of a change, that would be the sort of a lasting change for our state that would likely save more lives than anything currently that I'm doing as a company.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Okay.
Ms. Spivey.
Thank you so much for being here. And I was so impressed with your facility and couldn't believe I didn't know you were there when we went on the tour last year. And obviously the fentanyl issue, we hear it every day on the news, and we're looking at our border and the amount of fentanyl coming into our country and how many Americans are dying because of that, including right here in our city of Sparks. And it just, you just feel so helpless on what can we do for a drug that just is off the charts on, the toxicity, the probability of one pill killing someone when they don't even know that's what they've taken. Curious on your outreach, how do people know, how are they referred to your center? How does the general public who might have a family member or themselves that needs these kind of services, how do they know? And then are you involved with any, I feel like we need better, and maybe that's something we do together, better community education and awareness for parents, for just residents on fentanyl and how we can all be smarter and more proactive to help address this super serious issue.
You bring up a lot of great points. So on one hand, there's a overdose reversal drug called Narcan. And it just so happens that I brought enough for each of you to have 2 boxes of Narcan. If you don't have it, there's training I will give you. It's really, really important, because imagine this. Are you familiar with Narcan? Has anybody heard of it? It actually works. It takes quite a bit, right? We're actually reviving, probably on average, the Life Change Center, anywhere from like 1.5 people per week. Those people that would have likely not survived. What if every adult in our county, in our city, in our state had 2 boxes of Narcan? I think, even though that's kind of like a big statement, but just picture it, it's something that we could do, I think less people would die. Somewhere, sometime, somebody would get this life-reviving thing called Narcan, and it's just one of the many things. Treatment access is another. You brought up several things, and now I'm forgetting because I'm just like that. What were some of the other things that you mentioned at the end?
How people know that you're there? Is it referral? Is it word of mouth? Is it your outreach for people to come to your services?
A couple things on that. One is we're working in an interesting field. This is going to sound like bad humor, but I've been in this field for a long time. You never want to know a good oncologist until you need a good oncologist. We work in the sort of field that regardless of our efforts to promote what we do, people will forget us until such a time, that moment that they need us. It's really, really hard for us to market in such a way that people will be able to recall who we are when that moment comes. We do participate with a variety of different services that are, like if somebody was to go to a web search, for example, there's a lot of people that can help direct somebody to a place like the Life Change Center. But the Life Change Center is also very active. Me personally, I'm probably doing 4 hours a week in community outreach to just like B&I groups, RCN, just sort of the business community, because I've been preaching to social workers and to providers, doctors, nurses for 20 years. And it's not that that's not good, but I find myself going to talk to people. It's like, how do I restate the same thing I've stated 100 times over the last 20 years? I really need to start talking to people, and this maybe goes to your point, that haven't heard this message yet. And we've been dedicating now for 2 years, a lot of time, just thousands of hours to other groups to try and get this information out there. So just maybe when that moment of crisis occurs, they'll know where to go. So perhaps there is something that the Life Change Center and Sparks could do together to try and ensure that people have access to that sort of education. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think the short answer for who do you talk to is the interim city manager.
We did have a little discussion. I'm hoping we're going to have a meeting soon.
So, all right. Anyone else? No other questions? Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
All right, let's move on to consent items. Anyone wish to pull the consent item? Not, I'm looking for a motion. Ms. Vanderwell
I move to approve consent item 8.1 is submitted.
and Mr. Anderson.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, 9.1, consideration, discussion, of possible approval of an employment agreement, AC 5988, with Nancy O'Connor at the Sparks Parks and Recreation Director, as the Sparks Park Recreation Director, effective October 9th, 2023, with an annual salary of $161,554 plus benefits. All right, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, members of City Council. Chris Crawforth, for the record, your acting city manager. Mayor just covered it, so just kidding.
Questions from the council? Do you want to talk about why Nancy's not here today?
Yeah, I do. I'll go through this real quick. I'm excited to bring the following employment agreement for possible approval with Nancy O'Connor to become the next Sparks Parks and Recreation Director. It's been a good search getting to that point. So her estimation from the delivery company of moving all of her materials was a little delayed, so she is not with us today due to them showing up with her goods today. So that's why she's not with us right now. So As City Council is aware, city staff worked with recruiting firm Bob Murray and Associates to do a national search for the city's next Park and Recs director. Several candidates came to the city for an extensive interview process, and Nancy O'Connor was selected as that top candidate. As the mayor said, upon approval, the employment contract would take effect today, and the initial term runs through June 30th of 2026. The employment contract provides a salary of $161,554, which is within the pay range for this position. The employment contract provides for benefits such as annual and sick leave, health insurance, deferred compensation matching, which are consistent with the benefits provided to other department heads. Staff recommends approval, and I'm available for your questions.
All right, questions from the council? No questions, I'm looking for a motion. Ms. Vanderwill.
I move to approve the employment agreement AC-5988 with Nancy O'Connor as Parks and Recreation Director effective October 9th, 2023, with an annual salary of $161,554 plus benefits.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. 9.2, consideration, discussion, of possible approval. We don't applaud contracts.
There was a team of applause.
There was a smattering. Emily, did you start that?
It was just like,
That's why-
like, let's just.
Emily can applaud because she's no longer the interim.
She's here.
Doing the quick.
Yeah, she's like, woo-wee. Consideration, discussion, 9.2, consideration, discussion, of possible approval of a consulting agreement AC 5989 with BJG Architecture and Engineering to conduct a seismic evaluation of structures at the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility in the amount not to exceed $397,850 with the Federal Emergency Management Agency Building Resilient Infrastructure and Community Grant Funding up to $298,387.50, and Spark share being $36,552.47. It's a mouthful. Do you need to do a presentation now?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm here once again to talk to you about the seismic study that we're planning to do, and I'm seeking your approval of the contract with BJG Engineering and Architecture. We applied for this grant some time ago. It was finally awarded to us, which was kind of nice. It took a while to go through the FEMA process, as you're probably aware of. After we got the award, we sent it out for a request for qualifications. 2 engineering firms replied to our request for qualifications. Those were reviewed by a crew of 4 people. One of them was one of our CIP engineers from Reno, and then 3 staff employees from Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility. In the end, the votes were very close, and we ended up deciding to go with BJG due to their experience. So they were the ones that were chosen to do the project. The project came about as a part of the Washoe County Hazard Mitigation Plan. The Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility is listed in there as a critical infrastructure. And part of that requires that we do some kind of a seismic evaluation. So that's where this whole project started with. As you mentioned, the grant I applied for was actually $400,000. That was kind of the initial estimate that we figured it would cost to do it. It came in slightly underneath that. They awarded us $300,000 with a match from the city of Sparks for $36,750 and Reno for $63,250. And this is part of our budget. So I am here hoping that you will.
Well, first you're gonna have to give us your name for the record.
All right, I blew it.
Before we give you a bunch of money.
I'm sorry. Paul Shapiro, Safety Coordinator for the
Thank you,
Truckee
Paul.
Meadows Water Reclamation Facility.
Thanks, Paul.
I don't know why I get nervous when I sit in front of all of you.
You're so
It's the
calm when
lights.
we're in person. Any questions from the council? Ms. Bybee?
I just have one quick question. Have we done a seismic evaluation on Tomworth before?
We have done parts, but not the whole facility. So the facility is roughly 100 buildings, 100 structures, I should say, would be a better way of looking at it. So parts of it have sort of been done, but not a complete seismic study.
Okay, and obviously up to date compared to ones that were done years ago, that really what you can test for now makes more sense, that we've got to see what all the buildings would be, how they would be with an earthquake, because we have that risk here for sure.
Yes, it was built under different codes at different times, so that'll kind of bring us up to date with the way things are today with today's codes, and it'll give us a list that we can look at, a prioritized list in the report where we can start looking at what needs to be fixed, and we can prioritize those things and hopefully apply for more grants to help fund some of the repair work.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, there are no more questions. I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve the consulting agreement AC-5989 with BJG Architecture and Engineering to conduct a seismic evaluation of structures at the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility in an amount not to exceed $397,850 with the Federal Emergency Management Agency Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant, funding up to $298,387.50, and Sparks' share being $36,552.47.
Mr. Anderson.
I'll second his motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible ratification of the city manager's decision to approve the purchase of 12 police patrol vehicles from Chalmers Ford in the amount of $621,767.54. Mr. Drinkwater.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Michael Drinkwater, Community Services Director. I'm before you seeking your ratification of the decision of the acting city manager to direct us to purchase 12 police patrol vehicles from Chalmers Ford. Please recall, we've been having a difficult time getting vehicles for the city, of all vehicles, but particularly police patrol vehicles. We were still missing one vehicle from our FY22 order and all of our FY23 order was outstanding, and we had no delivery dates from our current supplier here in the Reno-Sparks area. Staff identified a dealership in Albuquerque that had 20 vehicles on the lot. In discussing with the acting city manager, our concern that we would not be able to keep the police completely, keep the fleet complete, because we had a couple vehicles that were damaged and we didn't know if they were going to be totaled. Being able to supply patrol vehicles in a timely fashion to the police department was called into question. Adding on top of that, the then anticipated, now realized UAW strike, which is impacting the supply of motor vehicles across the country. I asked the city manager for permission to purchase 12 vehicles from Chalmers Ford, and he agreed. And so now I'm before you seeking your ratification of that decision.
Okay, questions from the council? So the chief asked me about this, and I think we gave permission earlier in the spring to do the same thing, that you guys could purchase them as you found them, kind of a deal. We're kind of doing this a little bit backwards in this case, but I think it's a good policy because, as the chief said, there was 20 vehicles available. We took 12, called back the next day, none left. So we would, with the strike especially happening, and it could be in a really disastrous position for us. So I think that was good policy on our part to give the permission to make sure, go ahead and do that. Already been budgeted for it, already won that. We just couldn't fulfill the order.
Mr. Mayor, if I may point out, the first thing we did was call our local dealer, Corwin Ford,
Yes.
discuss with them. They were completely supportive of us canceling our order with them so we could purchase the vehicles in New Mexico. They completely understood, and we didn't burn any bridges with our local vendor.
Which is also important to know.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
Yes. I move to ratify the city manager's decision to approve the purchase of 12 police patrol vehicles from Chalmers Ford in the amount of $621,767.54.
Mrs. Bybee, sorry.
I will second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify, oops, wrong vote. Any further questions? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. I was running a different meeting there for a minute. I was at the RTC. I don't know how I did that. 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible acceptance of a traffic safety grant AC 5990 in the amount of $28,500 to participate in the State of Nevada's Department of Public Safety Office of Traffic Safety 2024 Joining Forces Program. Mr. Condon.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of City Council. For the record, I'm Sergeant Sean Congdon. Before you today is a request to approve acceptance of the State of Nevada Department of Public Safety Office of Traffic Safety Grant in the amount of $28,500. The funds will be utilized to participate in the Office of Traffic Safety 2024 Joining Forces Program. There is no direct impact to the general fund to participate in this program. The grant will cover the associated costs with the officers' overtime. The goal of the Joining Forces Program is to unite Northern Nevada law enforcement agencies for collaborative enforcement efforts during scheduled traffic enforcement operations within our region. Pedestrian safety, seatbelt safety, distracted driving, and speed enforcement are all examples of traffic enforcement operations. Staff recommends acceptance, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, questions from the council. Ms. Bybee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love this program. I mean, it just, Joining Forces has allowed us, since I've 9 years on the council, every time we have an enforcement, whether it's distracted driving, DUI, seatbelts, I mean, all the different, the different issues we see and the complaints that I get, which are mostly people speeding. Everybody drives too fast, and they drive too fast in your neighborhood, on the adjacent streets, let alone down Vista, on the Indianapolis 500 out there. And it just the dangers as well as pedestrian safety. These programs really do work. I like the collaborative effort with all the local law enforcement. And I really just seen, and I'll get comments when people are seeing more patrol, are seeing people ticketed, are seeing, some of those speed limits that even years ago, the chief at that time was telling me, on Vista, the average speed for, I can't remember the number of tickets, was a lot.
You don't want to set a standard here.
No, but it was more than, and I had residents who would not believe me, and I told them they could call the chief because the speeds were just so excessive. And just by this grant that allows us to join in with this program, I think it does make a difference. And maybe it's, short term, and then people, I mean, I wish we could change behavior with each one of these. And I don't have the answer. I don't have a silver bullet on how we get people to slow down. And it's up to each one of us. And I tell my residents that, sometimes we're speeding, we're complaining about it, and we don't realize how fast we're going sometimes. So I think that public awareness and these campaigns add to that, and kind of that heightened awareness of this, I think, can move us in the right direction. So thank you, and thank you for putting in for this grant because it's great.
Anyone else? Mr. Abbott.
I have a question. I was just leaving the event schedule and the dates and times, and could you tell me why, on speeding, it's about a 2-week period, it's $5,000 compared to click it or ticket, it's $1,500? Are we looking more people to enforce for speeding over the click it or ticket, or?
It really is just broken down in a collaborative effort with Joining Forces, and they break out the funds for the special enforcement activities. So you could just see, like you said, $5,000 for speed versus $1,500 for seatbelt. Speeding is probably the number one issue that we have here in the city of Sparks. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we kind of direct more funding towards that enforcement program to hopefully curb some of the speeding behaviors that we have with our drivers in the city of Sparks.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, then I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
I move to accept Traffic Safety Grant AC 5990 in the amount of $28,500 to participate in the State of Nevada Department of Public Safety Office of Traffic Safety 2024 Joining Forces Program.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I think you got one more, right? 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible acceptance of the State of Nevada Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety Grant AC 5991 in the amount of $25,000 to purchase a new LiDAR XLR-C scanners.
Thank you, Mayor Lawson. And members of City Council, again, for the record, I'm Sergeant Sean Congdon. Before you today is a request to approve the acceptance of a State of Nevada Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety grant in the amount of $25,000. The funds will be used to purchase 5 new LiDAR XLR-C scanners and also cover the costs associated with officer overtime for the specific purpose of conducting targeted speed enforcement activities. There are no required matching funds for this grant. LiDAR scanners use infrared light to compute a vehicle's speed instead of radar waves. This technology allows for much more precise vehicle targeting than radar guns in situations where monitoring one vehicle at a time is preferable, such as in dense traffic. The goal of the targeted speed enforcement activities is to reduce speeding and aggressive driving, which will reduce the number of major accidents on our city streets. Staff recommends acceptance, and I'm available for questions.
All right, Mr. Dare.
Yeah, thank you for going after these grants, as you guys have, and we've seen quite a few of them come through, so good job. And we hope to continue to see more of these. Obviously, it's not that much. We're going to probably compile this with some of the other stuff to see this out there. But I hope a message goes really clear to our community is, like Ms. Bybee said, to slow down. Do you have any particular areas that you are more focused on than others right now?
Our major thoroughfares, such as Vista Boulevard, Sparks Boulevard, Prater Way, any of the major streets, seems to be where we have the higher speeding issues.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to accept the traffic safety grant, AC 5991, in the amount of $25,000 to purchase the LiDAR XLR-C scanners that conduct saturated speed patrols.
Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Now, even more for Sparks PD. By the way, you guys look very sharp today with your ties on. 9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible acceptance of a State of Nevada Emergency Response Commission Local Emergency Planning Committee Grant AC 5992 in the amount of $17,762.50 to purchase new Colt LE M4A3 rifles and enhancements.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of the City Council. For the record, I am Lieutenant James Adunco. Before you today is to request the approval acceptance of the State of Nevada Emergency Response Commission Local Emergency Planning Committee Grant in the amount of $17,762.50 to purchase 10 Colt LE rifles and the related attachments. There are no required matching funds for this grant. The allocation of these funds is pivotal in enhancing the police department's preparedness and response capabilities. The Colt LE rifle is considered a state-of-the-art firearm, which ensures that our officers have reliable equipment. Staff recommends acceptance, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, questions from the council? Great presentation. No questions. I'm looking for a motion now. Mr. Anderson.
I move to accept the Local Emergency Planning Committee United We Stand Grant AC 5992 in the amount of $17,762.50 to purchase 10 Colt LE M4A3 rifles and enhancements.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming in, especially when you bring money.
When you're bringing money.
When you bring money, you're always welcome. Number 10, we have no public hearing for planning and zoning. We have no zoning public hearings. Comments from the public. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we'll move on to announcements from the mayor, city council, and city manager. Mr. Acting City Manager?
I was just going to highlight and point out with all the grants, highlight Miss Becky Jostin, who's sitting next to Mr. Martini, who is our grants writer for the police department. So we're starting to
Good job.
see the benefits of bringing her on board.
Good job.
Other than that, I have nothing. Thank you.
That's a skill that is underappreciated. Ms. Vanderwell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to request an amendment to Title 20 for NRS 278 for factory-built housing to be included in the definition of single-family residence. And if we can make the agenda item time certain for November 13th.
Okay. Mr. Dare?
I just want to, we are celebrating 150 years at UNR. We all got to take a nice picture earlier and everything, but I think it's just pretty awesome. I guess there's a pretty big game against some rival from down in the south happening this Saturday that I won't say where because that's bad to do from up here, but it's going to be the Wolfpack against the Rebels, so come join it. It should be fun, but it was great to have President Sandoval here with us, and you know, everyone looked really sharp except Paul. He decided not to wear a shirt today, but
I just wore a tie.
yeah, exactly.
Bill looked sharp.
Yeah, he did look sharp.
All right, anyone else? Do we have any announcements for the weekend? No pancake breakfasts this weekend?
Rodeo.
Truck rodeo, yes, that'll be fun. All right, well then, we are up to my favorite subject. We're adjourned.